Be on today.
What's up, fam? Tuesday night here, bringing lazy booking back at you. We're back at a regular schedule. That means we're going to be coming back to you every week after a little bit of a hiatus. I am Chrome, joined by my compadre over on this side, Mr. Matty Sudi. What's up, brother?
What's up, dude?
We're happy to be back with you guys. We're brought to you by our doctor at Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal. And you can find him in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary, so make sure you pop on there. Schedule your time with the doc. Also brought to you by Ambuck Services. It's AMBUCK Services.com. Any gutter guards, gutter cleaning, deck installation, restoration, any kind of outside work that you need. You want to let Michael Ambrose at Ambuck Services know that your family here at A2D Sanction, you're going to get 20% off of all services that he provides to you. So make sure you get in touch with Michael over there. And our topic of conversation tonight here on Lazy Booking, we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. We got a couple of things here we're going to break down. We're going to talk about Raw. Hasn't been good. Is Raw the worst wrestling program? Agree, disagree? That's brought to you by our pal Alex over at PhillyDrinkers.com. Philly Drinkers for all your A2D merch. You can check the gallery out. Over 50-plus items in there. T-shirts, show shirts, shorts, fleece, polo shirts, tumblers, all kinds of stuff. And hey, guys, you let them know. You go over there. You check it out. PhillyDrinkers.com/pages/A2D-radio. You're going to get 25% off. So get over there, check it out, get your merch, get your Lazy Booking shirt, get your Hockey Happy Hour shirt, get your Fix shirt. Mr. Ryan Brodo back here on the ones and twos doing a fantastic job for us. And all of your great shirts over here. So check them out, PhillyDrinkers.com. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to preview WWE TLC, which will be emanating this week live from the Thunderdome in Tropicana Field now. So let's dive into it, Matty. Monday Night Raw emanates last night. I have a really difficult time, Matty, getting through WWE's Monday Night programming. Honestly, I'm not a fan of a lot of the programming right now. And I think it's a fair question to ask when you look, you're seeing everything that AEW is doing, Impact, and even aside from the association, even if it's in the short term that we've seen with AEW and a partnership that they've had, having Kenny Omega appear on Impact and vice versa. Is Monday Night Raw the worst wrestling program on television right now? AEW Dark better than Ryan Brodo. AEW Dark is better than Monday Night Raw. Probably not. Prism to the poll, not sure. Whatever you'll go with, I'll roll with. I like it. David Zaleski says, I'm going to have to agree. We have Art of Grind 61. It is horrible. Indie promotions have better storylines. Andrew McGuire, WWE hasn't been good in years. Lots of comments already coming in, Maddie. I want to get your opinion on this. Do you believe that Monday Night Raw is the worst program on television? And if it's not, what is?
Honestly, I would love to be able to disagree and try to come up with a clever idea or clever saying here, but I can't. I feel like I don't want to put the effort in there since WWE doesn't want to on Raw. In the end, yeah, Raw is pretty much the worst. Sad to say because, when you go back in history, there were times where Raw was the best and nothing could touch it. But
well, it was the flagship, Matty. It was always the flagship, the standard bearer.
Yeah, and now, unfortunately, the standard bearer is, I don't know. I feel like it's in one of those war movies. The flag bearer gets shot. Someone has to pick the flag up for it. I think someone has to right now. It's really, it's really not been good.
Andrew thinks, or he states, best thing on WWE or WWE has is NXT. Let's break it down. Let's really go through a lot of it. So what is the bright spot? And honestly, what has become for me the one reason to watch Monday Night Raw? I still enjoy the Fiend character. I've enjoyed the development and the character building that we've seen with the Alexa Bliss dynamic. And I have, we've seen Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt before, but not in this light. And when we talk about, having like a consistency with storytelling, right? To go back and pull from the past is something I feel like we've talked about a lot, where we felt like they failed to do so. They have, revisionist history or selective memory and what did and didn't happen in the past. However, with this story, and really, when you look at the Fiend, Maddie, and the way that this storyline has built, all the way back to when the character first started debuting with the Firefly Funhouse, and the picture of the Wyatt compound burning in the background has always periodically kind of peeked its head up a little bit. So it's been a long, slow burn to get to this point. Tom Arnone chimes in. What's up, fam? What's up, Tom? Chuck's chiming in. Gentlemen, what's up, Chuck's? Andrew, it's too predictable, the booking. I would agree with you, and I'm gonna look at it a couple different ways. Jake says, "What's up, boys?" I agree with the poll, and it's a shame because in the early 2000s it was must-watch television. Yeah, for a lot of the 2000s it was much-watch television, but kind of going back into it, this has been the one consistent storyline that I think is built slowly, but built methodically, and was it cheesy this week? So what they did this week on Raw, if anybody missed it, they had the Firefly Funhouse and Randy Orton basically issues a challenge to Bray to play his game to where he can control the situation. Because last week, even though he faced Bray Wyatt and not the Fiend, he appeared to take control of the situation. So Randy was going to control the situation here. So what he did was he challenged him to a game of hide and seek. Now, yes, it sounds ridiculous. And some of it was. But, again, do you see a lot of that with Bray Wyatt?
Well, with the character, you have the ability to get away with things like that. Whereas if somebody else was doing it, then it's like, okay, that's just flat out stupid. But with the Fiend or with a character like even the Bray Wyatt with the sweater vest and everything like that, it fits. It works. You can get away with that.
Yeah, and they had they had a segment with him with Matt Riddle, and who was the other person he was in the backstage with? Was it R-Truth? Maybe I'm wrong. No, R-Truth was with Elias. Anyway, neither here nor there. Brian Wheeler chiming in. What's up, Brian? Brian from Kicking It Stateside. Bryce Blackwell. What's up, Bryce? Love seeing all these names pop in early here. Did they do these segments backstage, and they have they have Bray kind of asking, if anybody's seen Randy Orton. I could see why people maybe didn't like the Riddle part. I kind of liked it. You coincide the two ends. They're two characters, at least for now and for the foreseeable future, you wouldn't really see crossing paths, but they managed to make kind of both storylines in a very quirky way work to cross paths at that point. But basically, Bray ends up finding Orton, and a door opens, and it's the rocking chair, right? So Bray sits in the chair, and he's kind of sitting there rocking, and it's almost like is he feeling something like an old feeling from the past? Orton pops out. Orton kicks the what out of him all over the place. And they have a pretty brutal fight back in that room, in a dark room. There's a box there. Bray gets thrown into the box. Orton stomps him into the box, seals the box up, and then he, much like he did with the Wyatt family compound, lights the box on fire. Frank says, "Hey, yo, sorry about it at work. I got a question. Matter of fact, I got a problem. Why does Chrome's wall look like it's about to show tonight's weather forecast. That's Lagoon Blue, baby. Blue Lagoon right back here.
Are you going to be like one of those Twitch streamers where you have the background imposed on you so it looks like you're in the...
that would look pretty funny. But, you know, so basically, you know, he lights up Bray inside of the box, and all of a sudden, and I watched it a couple of times. Man, close call. Bray pops the top open, and he's the Fiend. It's the Fiend pops it open. His hair was like this close to lighting on fire, by the way. I thought the commentary was pretty good with this. Kind of selling the, oh my God, you know, this is a human being in there. And then, you know, the Fiend pops out and I can't believe what I'm seeing. But that's essentially what we have. So the Fiend comes out and just brutalizes Orton, puts the mandible claw on him, takes him down. This was the bright spot for Monday Night Raw for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and you know, to be fair, when Raw's going through, I'll just call them dry spells, there are some storylines that do kind of make it worth watching and sitting through some of the BS you'll have to sit through. You know, like, for example, in 2002, there was really bad storylines on Raw. However, there were good glimmering moments of, like, hope. Like, you had the Goldust Booker T. It was a minor storyline, but it was funny as hell, and people liked it. You know, and then you had that matchup, that rivalry between Jeff Hardy and Undertaker that culminated in that ladder match. That was a good setup there. There were some bright spots in that dry spell, and there were bright spots during the Reign of Terror where you had the buildup of Batista that eventually you got the big payoff at WrestleMania 21 when they built that up. So this is an example of that. It's a bright spot in the middle of a whole lot of either mediocre or just downright terrible, you know, on Monday Night Raw, basically.
Yeah, it's this was the bright spot. This is the one program that keeps me coming back, Maddie. And again, you're right. You know, I think back then it was just very different characters. The humor worked in a lot of ways, and some of it hasn't aged well. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to the Attitude Era, I'll be honest, a lot of it is cringeworthy in hindsight, but at the time it worked. But now let's go through what doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so we have this is a big issue for me. We have Sheamus, who out of nowhere now, all of a sudden, because they're both Irish, has been best friends with Drew McIntyre for however many years. Okay, we can go with that. Stereotypical. Let's put the two Irish guys together and tell everyone they've been best friends forever. Whatever, that's fine.
From the British Isles.
Sheamus happens to have these family heirlooms of Drew's, but he gives them to Drew. And whatever, cool. Hey, we get a cool entrance out of it, right? I like Drew's entrance with all that. That's cool, whatever. Here's my big problem. Drew is supposed to be your biggest face of the company. And I know Ryan has heard me in a chat last night. We were talking, and I threw this out there. Drew is your biggest face of the company now. Roman is a heel. And every turn when Drew gets in trouble, Sheamus is there for him. Always there to help him out, to have his back. He gives him his heirlooms back and all this different stuff. However, they're hinting that Sheamus is going to turn on Drew. However, when Sheamus repeatedly gets the shit kicked out of him, Drew is never there to help him out. Never there. Last night, he's tied up, hanging up upside down outside of the ropes. They have, I think his name's Almas or whatever his name is, the real big guy with AJ, his bodyguard. And AJ, they're literally destroying Sheamus as he's hanging upside down outside of the ring by his feet on the middle ropes. And Drew never shows up. I'm sorry, but if... And wait, But then Drew gets mad last week when he accidentally gets bro kicked in the face. And then what was the week before? He says, "Well, you got to have it on your own. You got to. That's what we do, us Irishmen. We handle this stuff on our own. We take an arse kicking like nobody else. But yet, Sheamus is always there for him when he needs him, man. And Drew, never there for the guy. Like, I'm looking at this, and you're like, you want me to buy the biggest face? Like, I hope that Sheamus kicks his head off his shoulders. Like, to me, Sheamus is the face in this, and Drew's would be the heel because Sheamus has every reason at this point to kick his head off his shoulders.
Maybe it's
been terrible storytelling, Maddie, and I need you to make me feel better about it, one way or the other. Either I'm not insane for thinking this way, or listen, relax, think about it from this angle.
How about this? So let's peer into the idea of Vince McMahon. I know what we're gonna do, pal. It's gonna be a backdoor way to get Sheamus back over. Why? Because I like Irishmen. They're just like me, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
That's such good shit.
But it does. I get what you're saying. It is stupid because when you think about it, in the storytelling, psychological aspect of it, it almost makes complete sense for Sheamus to turn on Drew, convince me, just retire because Triple H ran WWE. I mean, unfortunately, Vince ain't gonna retire. He's dying in the chair, but whatever. I don't know when he will. He'll probably live till he's like 130 at this point. But hell, he might outlive Triple H.
And I want you to stick with us, Andrew, because I'm going to address your specific point as we go through. But before we get to that, I want to touch on a couple of other things from Raw as well.
But yeah, when you were saying the psychological aspect of it, it's like in the storytelling aspect of it, it's like, well, if you're trying to make Drew the babyface, it's kind of a weird way for you to say it, because if Drew's supposed to be the good guy, why isn't he helping his buddy? And Sheamus, it's like Sheamus, by all rights, has every right to bro kick his head off, like you said, and pin his ass and take the WWE Championship from him. You're like, well, screw you. Since you don't want to, be the good guy, I'll be the good guy in this situation. Why not?
Yeah, and it blows my mind, Maddie. And now let's that makes no sense to me. That's like going back a couple of months ago, right? When Retribution, which, by the way, what is that now? Retribution was like the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Going back a month and a half ago, we were having this same discussion, and I said, you're building, on one hand, you're building the Hurt Business to be your big heel faction. They're picking on people backstage, and they're bullying, and they are, teaming up on everybody. They're playing the numbers game, which was fine in terms of, building them as a heel stable. But on the flip side, we're now going to also at the same time coincide and position them as the faces who are going to take Retribution down.
What? Yeah, that's not believable at all.
What makes sense about that?
And what's even weirder? Yeah, and what's even weirder is not only do you not have you have a team that was originally supposed to be heels, they're now trying to be baby faces, which is, you can basically break your neck with how fast that transition is. And then on top of it, you also will have the Retribution on one hand, which you have the leader is Mustafa Ali, and it's like, what? That's a fail. That's the biggest fail I think WWE's had all year, and that's saying a lot because there's been some very intriguing moments in 2020. And here's my thought process too. If it's because you have a limited amount of people available to you because of a pandemic going on, then I have a brilliant solution to that problem. Push it the fuck back until things get a little bit better. You don't have to bum rush this into fucking existence if you don't have what you want. If you don't have the wrestler available to be the leader of this stable, it's supposed to be this badass outlaw stable. And if you don't know what the hell you want to make this Hurt Business thing, then by all fucking means, push it back. Wait until you have a clear-cut idea and what path you want to walk down it. Yeah, so what? So the ratings won't be that great. You're fucking WWE. You can get away with shitty ratings all you fucking want. It's not like AEW is breathing down your neck to take away your fans. Honest to God, you're never going to have to worry about it. It's just at the end of the day, push it back. You have all the time in the world. Push it back. Just,
Yeah.
I swear to God, that's a problem.
No, I mean, I agree with you. This is the difference, right? I don't want to beat the same drum again, but I will do it every time. I will do it every week if I have to. This is the difference in what the industry has become now as opposed to what it was previous. And previously, there was story continuity, there was character development, storyline development, there was time to let things breathe. It was not a booking on a week to week basis. Go back and listen to Bruce Pritchard on his podcast. And, I can't say Bischoff because he did book on a week to week basis. But you go back and you listen to some of these guys who were around then, and they even say, especially Bruce talks all the time about how, their programs were in place 6 months to a year out. Everything was set and ready to go. If something happened, God forbid, you had plenty of time to plug in option B or, break the glass and pull in case of emergency. Now it's a week-to-week booking. And when you're doing a program where you have this stable, like the retribution angle, like you have to book it properly. You had it in your hands 10 years ago when you had the Nexus.
Yeah.
And you flopped big time.
Mm-hmm.
Flopped. And this was your chance to learn from that experience. It's okay to take from other companies and see what worked and what didn't work. I go back and I think of Aces and Eights. A lot of it, people hated a lot of what Impact has put out there over the last, 8 to 10 years. I think it's because they haven't taken the time to actually watch a lot of the talent, because a lot of the talent you see in NXT, AEW, WWE is Impact talent. However, I digress. When you go back and you look at those kind of storylines, that was, to me, was one of the best portrayed storyline in Impact's history, TNA's history, was the Aces and Eights. It was properly built. It was the right combination. It had an NWO kind of a vibe in a small time company, not, obviously the scale of WCW, but in terms of the way that they carried that storyline out on the programming, it had that who's going to be unmasked next and all this and that. Great question, Malachi. We'll get to that in a second, asking who Asuka's new partner is. It's just very, very odd to me, Maddie. Very, very odd.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those perfect examples of, and to piggyback off of the whole week-to-week booking thing, you know who liked to book week-to-week? Russo. You want to know what he did with WCW? Went right down the toilet, and they went out of business. I mean, they took an infinite budget and wound up losing that. What did they lose? Like $20 million or something like that in 1 year? That's pretty bad when you lose that much money and you spent much, much more in one freaking year. It's unbelievable. But they threw shit at the wall and it never stuck. It's kind of the same thing. You can't just throw shit at the wall and hope something sticks. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get something that just comes right the hell out of nowhere and organically happens. For example, Rusev there. That just came right the hell out of nowhere. It was something that was used to antagonize the crowd, and everybody fell in love with it, and it became the calling card for Rusev to turn babyface for the first time. And WWE did whatever it did with it, but the point is that that's one of the few times you throw something at the wall and it just sticks. But it doesn't always work like that. You got to have, especially your big storylines, you have to have your beginning, you have to have your middle, you have to have your end. And like you said, you have to have a plan B, a plan C. You got to have fucking all the way down to freaking plan Z at this point, because you never know what life's going to throw at you. So you always got to be prepared.
Greg says, "What's up, fellas? I agree to the poll, even though I didn't watch this week's Raw. Good luck, buddy, getting through it." Question, though, why did they break up the Iconics just to team Peyton and Billy up with other partners? WTF, by the way, here's a headshot and my resume is on the back, LOL. To to answer that question regarding Peyton, and I'm sure Maddie, you've seen and read the same thing. Sounds as though Peyton, there was an expectation to push Peyton as a singles star, but it seems like they have given up on that rather quickly. And again, when you're booking week to week and you're not thinking ahead, they probably could have figured out if this was something they thought could work or not, as opposed to, you know what, we're going to break them up next week, pal. We're going to, or 2 weeks from now, pal. We're going to see how it goes because I believe in her. And then 2 weeks later, you drop the storyline. I'm entertained by Billie Kay, so I don't hate that part. But, yeah, not good. Not good. Let's move on to the next major program here. And I despise Kyle O'Brien says, you know, it's bad when they try to bring 50-year-old wrestlers back to save the organization. Andy says, what's up, boys? Have a great show. Thanks, Andy. Kyle, are you talking about WWE or AEW bringing Sting in, who is actually, I think, in his – is he in his 60s?
I think he is,
61.
Honestly. Yeah, but when I heard that Sting was actually, he showed up on AEW and they said that he's going to wrestle, I was literally like, what? Like, hold on. The last time Sting was in the ring, because I remember what happened, I saw it happen, damn near died, or he damn near got paralyzed, and it wasn't Seth's fault. It was because Sting shouldn't be wrestling at his age. What the fuck are you talking about?
Kyle said he forgot all about that. I think he was referring to Goldberg.
Okay.
But hey, I mean, to your point, bud, AEW said, hey, here, that's okay. Hold my beer. You want to bring Goldberg back? Hold my beer.
Yeah. Oh my
Prison
God.
280, off topic, random thoughts. I wonder if Shinsuke is happy in WWE. I don't know. I don't see him doing much more in AEW. AEW. Let's talk about that because
Suplex it.
Prism, stick with us. Give me a minute here. Let me get through Raw, okay? I have to talk about this storyline because I despise this storyline. There are elements of it that they have gotten me to believe in, but overall, I'm very disappointed in this storyline, and that is the Lana storyline. I have a really hard time, and if you want to call me sensitive, I'm not sensitive. I just believe in a sense of reality in that you did this bullying storyline with Nia Jax 2 years ago at WrestleMania that ended up culminating in the biggest moment of her career when she won the title from Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania 34. Fast forward now 2.5 years later, and we have this whole thing with Nia where she is picking on Lana because she doesn't think Lana is good enough and thinks she's just a Barbie doll, and puts her through a table, 9 or 10 times at this point. I know it was 7 weeks in a row at one point. But you know what? I kind of looked past that and I thought, okay, maybe we'll get to something. And I think I said that to you before. I didn't get too crazy about that. And we started to. We saw what happened at Survivor Series. Lana happens to win. And you started to see things happen by some circumstance or happenstance. However, now you're slowly starting to see, oh boy, Ryan Brodo says the Lana storyline is more idiotic than the Eagles only running the ball 6 or 7 times a game.
Hey, they won. They won this week, though. They won this week. Everything's looking up in that division. It's okay.
Hey, Maddie, don't go there yet. It's too early. It's one game.
Don't insult my intelligence, Mr. Sinsoon.
I'm not insulting your intelligence. I'm just having fun with you. Come on.
But I look at this Lana storyline and I'm like, okay, like we're gonna get her there, and she's gonna work with Asuka, and she gets the Asuka rub. I actually, believe it or not, think the dynamic with her and Asuka, as odd couple as that seems, it kind of has worked for me. You know, I'm willing to kind of see how it goes, and I do think Asuka could be good in a mentorship role for her. But then we got, you know, and now we've evolved to where, even though she's not the most skilled wrestler, and I do actually think she's improved, she's still finding ways to win, like the way that she beat Nia this week. Nia's in the corner. She takes Nia down. Nia's kind of hanging in the ropes. She does like a stomps Nia into the ground, takes her legs, and pulls her legs all the way back in a very believable pinning fashion, by the way, to get the victory. So I see that, and then it's what the brutality of the beating after for no reason to me. I don't get it, and it's dragging on at this point. I mean, you're talking it took 7 weeks of just going through a table to even get to anything beyond the initial point of contact.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. I was okay with it up until this week. At this point, after seeing the way it's been done this week, and I know our buddy Pete Evans, one of our personalities here at A2D, would agree with this. It's too much for me. It's not good, and I don't care for it. It's terrible. It's not good booking for me.
One of the things that I've always, we've said it before. The show's name lazy booking, and we've seen examples of it. This is a perfect example of lazy because it lacks continuity, and because of the fact that Nia went through the bullying storyline like you had said before, albeit though that one was actually handled much better, and it would have been better if Enzo hadn't been a fucking dumbass. But in the end, though, when you take a storyline like that and you retread it and you do it half-assed and you make it in this stupid idea of reversing the roles, which is like, why? It's not necessary. If the idea is that you just want Nia to beat up Lana because she just looks at Lana as prey and not as someone who's equal to her, not for bullying reasons, just because she's the dominant female and she wants to beat you up because you're smaller than her, fine, I can buy that. That's like, okay, she's just trying to assert her dominance in the animal kingdom of the women's division. She wants to be the queen of the women's division. She's going to dominate and beat the crap out of this person to get her out of the way. Fine. But then it's not even that. It's just because, you're a Barbie doll and everything like that. It's like, I have seen that so many times. Beth did it before, and when she did it, it was a lot better then, too. Natty joined her in that, and that was much better the way they handled it. And that was before the women's revolution, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a lazy, stale retread that took no effort to put together. It was a fucking grabbed out of the just wishing well of storylines of, okay, what lazy ass storyline can we give this? Because we got no ideas. The writers are just back there, just flinging feces to the wall to see what sticks. Let's see if this one sticks. And it's just like, everybody's just sitting there like, the only good thing about this is Lana's going to the table, but the reasons for it is stupid.
Yeah, I can't get behind it. I do think the end game, and this we'll touch on this momentarily when we get to the pay-per-view preview, and it coincides. It is the question that was asked earlier: who do we believe that the Asuka's replacement tag team partner is? I definitely have my idea of exactly who it is. However, not a fan of this. There's a lot on this program that I am not a fan of. And it's a shame. It's really a shame. Raw used to be the number one program. I look at SmackDown. I have my issues with SmackDown right now. I feel like I'm on a yo-yo. I'm dangling down and then they pull me back. Dangling down and pull me back. With this Roman storyline. I'm sorry. I can't buy that your cousin, who has been belittled, demeaned, and made a fool of on television after kicking your ass, is now doing everything he can to protect you, and then you're going to destroy him with a chair on television again. And I'm supposed to believe that he's okay with that? Doesn't do it for me, Maddie. It's stupid.
It seems like they were trying to add more dimension to the storyline, but it just fell short.
Doesn't need it.
I'm not saying it needs it. I'm just saying they tried to add it. Not saying it needed it.
I don't understand it. I've been a fan of Kevin Owens' work in that program. I'm a big Kevin Owens guy, and I look at this program and see the way that Kevin Owens has looked in this. And to me, this, again, shows me why Kevin Owens is a main event guy. He doesn't have the look that Vince wants, but he is a main event guy. However, you look at Keith Lee, another one. Keith Lee on Raw is every bit of what should be a Vince McMahon guy. However, reports this week that Vince wants him to go back and work on his in-ring work. Are you kidding me? Keith Lee? Vince, have you ever watched a goddamn episode of NXT? Have you ever watched a TakeOver event? Have you gone back and seen this guy in Evolve and everywhere else around the world that he's worked? You got a guy the size of freaking Braun Strowman doing dives, doing sentons and shit over the top rope. Are you kidding me right now? This is where that whole Vince is, and I have defended Vince for years. I do think there's a brilliance to Vince McMahon. And at this point, that brilliance is not in the creative. It's not in the direction of the creative of the company. Business-wise, absolutely. But to sit there and say who is and who is and isn't a wrestling talent, a big main event talent, Vince, you lost it, buddy. You're out of your goddamn mind. Keith Lee is a gift. A gift in your hands.
Yeah.
And it was literally, Maddie, if there was ever a can't miss prospect, you want to go back. This is like the Marty Brodeurs coming in the NHL draft. This is the Bryce Harper or the Mike Trouts of MLB.
Or the Michael Jordan or the,
well, I don't want to say Jordan, but I'll go and say this is like, this is the LeBron James or those kind of guys. This is the freaking, this is the Pat Mahomes of the NFL in WWE. You can't miss on this guy. He has everything from the look to the athleticism, to the talent on the mic, to the speaking ability. And you screwed it up.
I know.
This might be the only screw up worse than the Eagles with Carson Wentz. Might be the only management screw up worse that possibly rivals how badly the Eagles screwed up Carson Wentz.
It's a perfect example.
Vincent Kingsley.
Yeah. And what's weird is that he's the type of guy that you would think Vince would be in love with. The type of guy that you would think Vince would personally handpick and pull away from the herd and said, "That's my guy, pal." And you would think that would be the case because he's this big, massive dude. At the end of the day, though, he can do a lot of athletic things, so there's more dimension to him, kind of like an Undertaker situation where he's a big guy, but he's got a ton of athleticism to him, which adds more to it. It's just one of those things of, for some reason, maybe it's senility, maybe he was off his meds, I don't know. All I know is that Vince McMahon really at this point has become that guy that you look at and you say, he had it back in the day, but a few too many believing his own bullshit starts to kick in and he starts to think he knows exactly what to do, because I'm pretty sure there had to have been somebody scratching their head on that one, but God forbid you say anything to Vince because, then you get blackballed. Just ask Selena Vega. But anyway, I
don't know.
Different context, but it's just. But the point is that it's like one of those things of Vince needs to be told, okay, you clearly are not in your right mind right now. Someone needs to say, Vince, that's not a good idea. Don't do it. That's a bad idea. But then again, also, it is Vince's say. It is his company. And when Vince gets on something and he sticks to his guns, Vince is a stubborn old mule. He refuses to move sometimes on certain things. And maybe this is one of those things he refused to move on. Don't know why, but if that's the case, but it was one of those things.
It's unbelievable how they fumbled this guy. I would never. I don't care if it was Vince Russo running the program, Maddie.
Yeah.
I feel like anybody could have been given this guy and made it work, made it a success. And to see how far it has fallen so quickly is unbelievable. Like, I already feel like the guy needs to go away over the next month, even if it's
Yeah.
for 3 weeks, and have him show up at the Rumble. Let him grow his beard back. Let him grow like his beard back. Take the fucking shirt or the singlet top off and just come out like you did in NXT and come out like you did last year in the Rumble and wreck shit. That's how it should be. I can't believe that they screwed this up as bad as they did, Matty. I can't overstate it.
Yeah, I wish in some ways that there was like a deal between NJPW and WWE. That way you could just send him away and he could go and just have these amazing matches over there, and that will kind of rebirth him a little bit when he comes back. But unfortunately, you can't do that. But
I mean, well, even if you could at this time, you wouldn't be able to do it now with COVID and everything.
Yeah, you're
which,
right.
by the way, I hope everybody's being safe out there. By the way, but I would agree with you. And when you talk about what are opportunities for guys to get in ring work, I guess that's a place to go. But he doesn't need it. It's an insult. It's an embarrassment.
He doesn't need it. I just feel like it would be one of those things where it would be one of those things he can get the stink off of him, and then it's just like, oh my god, he just tore the house down, and then he comes back, he's got all this hype and fanfare back behind him. You know what I mean?
I mean, how long was AJ in New Japan? What, like not that long, right? 6 months, maybe.
Almost. I would say almost
maybe
a year. And he had 2 runs with the championship, and they were really phenomenal titles. And he had an Intercontinental title run in there as well. And all those championship runs, he had so many tremendous matches. Even on the weekly shows of NJPW, he was putting on 5-star classics with them over there. So at the end of the day, that one little thing, it sent him through the roof, and he showed up in WWE, and he had a huge pop when he showed up in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's another big one on Raw. There's a lot on SmackDown I'm not a fan of. Again, we talk about that week-to-week booking, right? You look at the Money in the Bank. They give it to Otis because he was the flavor of the month without having a clear vision going forward. I mean, I'm okay with The Miz having it. I just hate the way they gave it to him. That was terrible. It's just very, very ridiculous to me. I look at what AEW is doing. And AEW to me has drastically improved. I'm not ready to call them 100% of a competition yet. However, they are positioning themselves very well to sustain long-term success. They still have JR on there. They still haven't figured out their picture-in-a-picture fucking commercial breaks, which I hate because they always do it. Like a guy's cutting a promo and they do it in the middle of the promo.
I know.
Very bizarre. Like they have finishes of matches during them. It's very weird.
You would think the production crew would have figured that out. It's been like almost 2 years. And you'd be like, like guys, do you know how a clock works? You know how time works? Like,
but here again, let's talk about AEW and what they've fell short on. I'm going to take out the Sting is 61 and going to actually compete in the ring thing. I'm going to take that out of the equation, okay?
all right.
Everybody thinks that this is some sanctuary. Okay, all the WWE cast off town is going to go there. Where's Brody Lee been?
Yeah.
Is he hurt? We don't know.
I haven't heard anything about him being hurt. He just hasn't been on.
What about Matt Cardona? What happened to Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder?
What happened to Sean Spears?
Showed up, came in there for what? You periodically see Sean Spears. Periodically.
Yeah.
Matt Cardona shows up. He's Cody's buddy when Cody needs a couple guys to hang out with him for a couple weeks or a month, and then he's gone. He's not. You don't see him. How they kind of featured Rusev a little bit. They've kind of featured him, but not to the extent I think he should be. Not to the extent of the monster that he's, when he is unleashed on AEW programming, he portrays himself to be. So how is this some sanctuary? How, FTR is being used better, obviously. There are certain ones, but everybody thinks that, like, oh my God, we have all these. I would hope that now people are learning why certain guys didn't get pushes in WWE. There's only so many spots and so many hours, and so many people can get that time. There has to be people who are going to be enhancement talent. Now that enhancement talent on WWE isn't even getting a sniff of TV time on AEW because there's only 2 hours. Maybe what's after dark? An hour?
It's about an hour's worth of YouTube, yeah.
So 3 hours of programming. They're not getting everybody in on there.
No, and I mean, and here's the thing
Oh, by
too.
the way, now Shaq's taking somebody else's spot on television.
It's just well, what's even weirder too is that you have that situation there, and while some talent there may be a little bit more room to work with, and you're questioning why they're doing what they're doing with them. There's also the issue of the fact of you also have your own talent that you're trying to build up and you're trying to, make stars out of, like an MJF, which you don't really have any real work you have to do. That's just automatic, natural. But when you talk about other talent, like in your women's division, which is a mess, and then you also have the issues of, you want to make that tag team division, which is one of the best things they have. You want to make that a really big highlight spot. And then you feature some teams, but then you don't feature other teams, or they're gone for like 2 weeks and then they magically show up. It's like, where were they over the last couple of weeks? There's just several things that it's like they're misstepping with their own talent too. And it's like, I mean, in my opinion, I look at it this way. If they can't even get their own talent in good, sustainable storylines, how the fuck are they going to deal with WWE talent that they're grabbing? It's like,
yeah.
And I think it all comes from the fact of two reasons. One, I think there's way too many cooks in the kitchen back there because everybody's got a spot where they're booking on the card. And I just feel like while that may sound great in theory, I feel like there's really missed spots here. There's dead zones here where maybe if there was one concise vision that they were going towards, maybe they would have a better opportunity, more continuity to it. Like, obviously, everyone can have input and whatnot, but at the same time, maybe have someone who's like the head of the whole thing, not have so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that, so-and-so is doing this. Because then it also gets to the issue, if you want to have interaction between those two, then you got to have two bookers try and work this out. It could be a mess, so it's one of those things. Maybe they need one clear, concise vision to take care of the whole thing, and maybe that will clear up some of the sloppiness. Or maybe it's the fact of maybe these guys are just in a spot that they just aren't able to do. Like obviously Kenny Omega. I don't think he's able to be a booker. It's clearly obvious he's not able to be a booker because I don't know what the fuck he was trying to do with the women's division. It failed. It failed tremendously.
And now they had to go out of the company and start pulling NWA women's talent in to save the women's division.
Yeah, so it's like just some guys aren't meant to be bookers. They're just meant
Whatever
to be.
happened to the girl who was like the first women's champion? I can't remember her name. Rio? Is that her name?
Yeah,
Rio?
Yeah, she hasn't even been there since she lost the belt. And then they pushed Hikaru Shida, who won because of the tragedy that happened. But after that, then you bring Vicky Guerrero in to be the valet of Nyla Rose, and then you don't even put the belt on Nyla Rose. Now, I know you don't like Nyla Rose, and I understand that. But it's just one of those things, well, if you're going to take the time and spend the money to bring Vicky Guerrero in, one of the best mic workers you can possibly have at the company for the women's division at that time, and you put her with Nyla Rose, and you don't even put the belt on her, it's like, then what was the point? Why even waste the time and the money? Why wait? I mean, hey, I'm sure she's happy, and I'm happy for her to have the paycheck. But at the end of the day, it's like, storyline-wise, what the fuck was the point? What was the point of doing all that just to see Nyla lose to Hikaru Shida? It's like, you should just have Nyla Rose going out there by herself and have Hikaru Shida beat her again. It's like, what the? Like, it just shit like that just makes you scratch your head. Like, what the fuck are they doing? And it's just a shame because you see the schizophrenia on the show. You see something that has a clear vision. You see something that is concise. Like, you see what they did with Darby Allin, which has been really good. You see what they've done with guy with Taz. What's his name?
Brian Cage.
Thank you, Brian Cage.
Ricky Starks. Yeah, there's a couple of them there.
You see that, and that looks good because Taz being the mentor and them taking steps moving forward. Like, you see the clear vision there, and then you see other things that you don't see a clear vision on. It's like, this doesn't help your show. This ruins it. It muddies the water really badly.
Yeah, I just think they've done well with certain people. You mentioned Darby Allin, MJF, Sammy Guevara, I think has been a star. But man, they have really fallen short. And again, for being a quote unquote safe haven for WWE, cast off WWE talent to go to, really seems like not much different, if not worse, for a lot of them. But overall, AEW has gotten better. I'm a big Eddie Kingston fan. I think he's been a star of the show. You see a lot of these guys. The Bucks, that's kind of a weird one. The Bucks turned heel to win the tag titles, and now they're back to being faces.
That was weird, yeah.
It's a weird dynamic that they did there. And NXT is NXT. NXT overall, I think, has been a pretty decent program. The in-ring matches are high quality. The takeovers are still fantastic. War Games. I heard you guys on In This Very Ring giving your War Games wrap-ups, and I think that I don't know what Andy's expecting. And if he gets a chance and wants to go back to hear this, I tried to drop it in there, but there's a lot to comment. I don't know what he's expecting by saying that he felt like it was all over the place. That is War Games. That is what that is. It is supposed to be controlled chaos, controlled within the confines of the cage. And the fact that, and I said it on that show in the comments, and I'm going to reiterate it here, when you go back and you look at NXT TakeOver War Games, I don't want a clean match. I don't want to see all the spots be perfect. The thing with the trash can where it got stuck on Io, to me, that added to the match. It was a great spot. When you look at, War Games is the one thing where the mistakes are actually not mistakes. Do you remember back in the day, although this was scary as hell, when Sid went to powerbomb Brian Pillman and the cage was so low, he dropped him on his neck.
That was the spot, yeah. But I was talking about that on In This Very Ring. That I remember that for the wrong reasons. But anyway, go ahead.
But if that's what it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be an insane match, to where it's believable. Anything can go, anything can happen to these people, and I feel like that's exactly what they give us. To me, that was the best War Games match. That women's War Games match was the best War Games match of any of the new reiteration of that program. I don't even think it's close, and that's not a knock to any of the previous ones. I think War Games, for what the new modernized War Games is pretty decent. It's not the old style, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. But I would like it to be a little closer to it. Like, I felt like this men's and women's this year was. I wish there was a top on the cage, but there's not. Whatever, that's fine. That's their thing. If you climb out, you're disqualified. You can't get back in. Fine. That's how you change that rule. It's putting a top on without putting a top on.
Yeah, it's weird, but one thing that's also different too, and it's a subtle difference in the rules, is that it's pinfall or submission, whereas in the old War Games it was whoever conceded winds up losing the War Games.
Yeah, basically it was submission, right?
Yeah, I always thought that was an intriguing addition to it. It's a very WWE thing to do. Yeah, we're gonna have pinfall submission. We're not gonna have a conceding because that's a WCW thing.
Well, I don't even know that it's a WCW thing. I think the way that it's viewed is it could do damage to somebody by having them give up.
I get it, yeah. I get it, yeah.
I think that's not really WWE's thing now. They're more of the pass out type of, they do a lot of those finishes where you don't really tap, you pass out. Yeah. I just think that's more of their thing, so it's a way to give them more protection for the superstars.
Yeah. I will say this though. One thing that WCW did very well that I felt like WWE had to catch up on was the big structure matches. WCW's always had those big, giant structure things, and War Games was a part of that. It's just they always had this giant Tower of Doom, or they had this,
The Tower of Doom. Wasn't that Uncensored 95 with
yes,
Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus the Dungeon of Doom?
yeah, the team to destroy Hulkamania.
Oh God, it was Kamala, Shark.
Yep. Flair and Arn Anderson were a part of it, and
were they in that match?
They were like in the very top, and then
what was Beefcake's character's name? The Zodiac?
No, he wasn't the Zodiac at that point. He was actually the Booty Man by that time.
No, he was the Zodiac.
He was in the Dungeon of Doom. I think he had changed by that point. He had actually turned babyface.
No, not at that time. No, he was still the Zodiac. I think it was that summer after.
Okay.
He was a part of that. That was one of my, I don't know why. When I was a kid, it was one of my favorite WCW pay-per-views to go back and watch. Like I recorded it on pay-per-view. I mean, in hindsight now, it's not one that stands the test of time, but
no.
I just loved like Hogan and, like you said, the monstrous structure of the cage and Hogan and Savage go through. It was that, and then there was the street fight of LOD. Was the Harlem Heat?
I think it was a Doom.
Who?
Doom, Farouk and Butchery.
No. You're going way too far back. This is 95.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, they also had that. What was it? What was that giant cage they had at Halloween Havoc? Was it, or was it? And Macho Man jumped off the top and Hogan didn't even catch him, like just being a dick to him, basically. Yeah.
Oh, that was late. That was the 90s, wasn't it? Wasn't that was a sold out, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. It was sold out. Never mind.
This is how much we're marks, guys, that we can like go back and remember this stuff. Yeah, so it was. That's not the right one. Welcome defeated Raider. That's not the right one. When was that damn uncensored pay-per-view, Matty? 94?
Maybe it was 94. Maybe it was the year beforehand.
96, maybe?
I would have to think
96.
It was
96. Okay. So this is like the same year Hogan turns.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
You think 4 months after this, he changes professional wrestling. But if you go back 4 months before, I'll tell you what, I want to start our own new segment, Maddie, on this show. And I want to start something where we tell somebody to go back and watch something.
Okay.
I want make it could be the most random thing, not like, oh, go back and watch Steamboat and Savage from WrestleMania 3. Like each of us every week come up with like some random match for people to go back and watch. And this is the one I'm going to go with for this week. You don't have to have one. You can start it next week. I'm going to say go back, WCW Uncensored 1996. This is 4 months before the NWO.
Yeah. And then I have one that I will say too. If we're gonna do Pandemonium ones, one that I will pick from WWE, the Armageddon Hell in the Cell in 2000. 6 guys, Kurt Angle's WWE champion, and he's got to face Austin, Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, and Rikishi. And that's the night when Rikishi got thrown off the top of the cell. So I just want to say, if you haven't seen it in a highlights package, go watch the match. Not only was the Dungeon of Doom freaking chaotic, this match was freaking chaotic too.
So ready? Here you go, Maddie. I'm going to give you the list of this. Ready? So this actually comes into relevancy for this week because we had the passing of Tiny Lister, right? Zeus. Oh,
yeah.
Who was in the Doomsday match. I completely forgot about that. So go back. This match took place on March 24th, 1996. I was 11 years old. This was Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, those two alone in a Doomsday cage match. defeat Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Meng, the Barbarian, Lex Luger, the Taskmaster, the Ultimate Solution, who I have no idea who this guy is. I even just looked him up and I have no idea who he is. And then Z Gangsta, who is also known as Zeus.
Yeah. Actually, I do know one thing about the Ultimate Solution. They had to change his name because when they debuted him for the Dungeon of Doom, they called him the Final Solution. And they realized, oh, shit. If anybody looks up the Final Solution, they're not exactly going to find this, giant hulking dude. They're going to find something that happened back in the 40s that wasn't nice. So they changed it to Ultimate Solution because they realized how bad that was. So that shows you how WCW's week-to-week booking was not always the brilliant in the world. That's a perfect example right there.
So was this the dude that was like in the white cloth and stuff like that?
I think so. Well, wait a minute. No, wait. That was the Yeti, wasn't it? And that was Reese.
No.
I thought it was.
Oh, I gotta look this guy up now and see. Anyway, that's my match of the week. That's what we're just gonna do, a match of the week, a throwback match of the week. That's my throwback match of the week. Go back and watch that. Repeat yours one more time, Manny.
And mine is the Armageddon Hell in the Cell from Armageddon 2000. Just we're gonna give you pandemonium matches. If you want to see what gigantic structures and just throwing a whole bunch of wrestlers into them, just the chaos of it, those are two perfect examples of it from WWE and from WCW.
Yes, I do remember. And actually, I do remember this guy now that I've seen his picture. I remember. Oh, God, that was so bad then. It's crazy to think that the wrestling industry changed just 4 months after this terrible idea of a pay-per-view main event.
I know.
But I still love it. I could go back and watch that match and be entertained. But I also grew up in that time. I don't know if you're a person who didn't grow up on it, like, could go back and I give it a shot anyway. It's entertaining, if anything.
I will admit, as someone who I myself did not grow up in this era, I missed pretty much most of this. I didn't really start watching wrestling until '99. So for me, going back and watching it, I literally look back on it and say, and someone thought this was a good idea. Like, that's literally the thought that goes into my head because I didn't see it as a kid, whereas you saw it when you were 11 years old and you thought, oh, this is awesome.
Oh, so good. So good. Does not stand the test of time. All right. I think we answered the poll, though. I would agree 100%. Raw is the worst program right now. You would agree, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. Let's move on. We got a little bit of time left. Let's move on, and over the next 10 or 15 minutes, let's do our preview for TLC. Do you mind bringing up the card for me, man? I'll bring it up. That's all right. I'll bring it up.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's the last pay-per-view of the year, so let's see what they do. I mean, what was it, last year? It was a TLC match that closed it out for the women's tag titles between Asuka and Kairi and Becky and Charlotte. Boy, man, look how much changed in a year. Becky was, she just had a kid, so congratulations to her. And, and Seth, congratulations to you both. And Charlotte, we haven't seen her in forever. And then on top of it, Asuka's still there, but Kairi's gone. Like, holy shit, 12 months, man. A lot happened in 12 months.
All right, so we have, that's a pre-show match. This thing's going to do that thing to me. All right, so we have the Street Profits versus, and I don't know that this is the order they're in. I'm just going to read them randomly. These look like these could be pre-show matches. So the Street Profits defend their WWE Tag Team Championship against the SmackDown Tag Team Championship against Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Who do you got here, Maddie?
One more time. Can I hear that again?
SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Street Profits versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode.
I thought you said that right. I just had to let that sink in with Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler for a moment. Anyway, I'm going to say Street Profits. I really hope that it's the Street Profits. No offense to Bobby Roode and Dolph, but I don't know. I'm not really. I don't really give a shit about Dolph, and I really just want Bobby to do something else other than tag. But anyway,
I don't mind Bobby Tag. I don't mind them as a tag team. I actually think they kind of fit together. It's a shame, James Storm, free agent, just came back to Impact Wrestling. Would love to have seen him come into WWE and reprise beer money with Bobby Roode.
I would have liked that. Yeah.
But I don't mind Bobby doing or Robert doing the tag team thing for now. He is a tag team specialist. He's great as a single star, but his career was as a tag team specialist. I don't mind it.
Sure.
However, I agree. This is 2020 is the year of the Street Profits, I think, in terms of the WWE tag team ranks, and I go with them absolutely. United States Championship, Bobby Lashley defends against Riddle.
Well,
I'm going Riddle here, buddy.
I mean,
I'm going Riddle.
See, the only thing that gives me pause is while I know Bobby's part of the Hurt Business and everything like that, I almost feel like, do they want to take the belt off him because he's in the Hurt Business? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and not to say that Bobby can't take a loss, but it's just one of those things that it's in the stable. I don't know if they want him to lose right now while he's in there. I'm going to go Lashley for that reason. And not to say that I wouldn't want to see Riddle as champ. I wouldn't mind seeing him get a title and maybe do something. But, I got to go Bobby here just because he's in the Hurt Business.
Yeah, see, I got Matt Riddle on this one. I'm calling him Matt Riddle. I ain't calling him Riddle. It sounds stupid. I'm calling him Matt Riddle, his name. I think that they slowly built this character. I could be wrong. It wouldn't shock me. Lashley's been phenomenal in my opinion. He has been a highlight. However, I like to think that youth must be served, and they've made it a point to focus more on Riddle as a single star as opposed to Bobby as the Hurt Business as a unit. And I would think that maybe that's the opportunity to put that title back on a singles guy. So I'm going to go with Riddle in this one. Probably more so in a hope and a prayer. But
I don't blame you.
Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso. I'm just going to, to me, it's going to be Jey Uso probably. No, I take it back. I'm going to go Daniel Bryan here because it's going to piss Roman off more. I'm going to go with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see another beatdown. Or at least another one of those Roman brooding faces, of him looking at Jay disappointedly. Which, I give Roman credit. He can brood very well. So
It's true. It's true. The Raw Tag Team Championship, the New Day versus the Hurt Business. It's to me, they've made it a point to emphasize Cedric Alexander is kind of getting too big for his own good, a big head, and it's being noticed by the other members of the Hurt Business. Wouldn't surprise me. It has paid off up to this point, which is why I believe when it comes to the actual title match, it will be a detriment to the team. Maybe something where, Shelton Benjamin has an opportunity to put the match away. Cedric tags himself in. It ends up resulting in them losing the match, and that kind of gets the ball rolling because clearly it took us 8 months to get Cedric Alexander into the Hurt Business, but it's only going to take us 2 to get rid of him.
And that's actually the reason why I think Lashley probably retains, in my opinion, because I think they probably take a loss here. And I don't think they want to give the stable 2 losses in a pay-per-view and lose a title.
You'd be very right. It's a great thought process. I don't disagree with you on that. SmackDown Women's Tag Team Championship, and I have actually been a fan of this build. We have Sasha Banks versus Carmela. I was a fan of this week, the Carmela beatdown, which to me was great for her character development. However, Sasha will finally hold the title for more than a couple of months and will actually retain the title here, in my opinion. Maddie, who are you picking out of Sasha Banks and Carmela?
My biggest concern, though, is that Snoop Dogg showed up on AEW, so they may punish Sasha and take the belt off of her. But no. No, but in all seriousness, though, I do.
He didn't show up yet. He shows up this week.
well, still, it'll be in time for the pay-per-view. But still, I will say Sasha will retain. And that's also in a hope and a prayer, because I mean, good God, please give her one run where she doesn't immediately lose a title, please.
Yeah, I think we'll be good. I don't think she'll get the Gargano treatment this time around. All right, so this was a question that was asked to us earlier. Let's address it. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Asuka and partner to be determined. Who do you believe is going to be the partner here, Maddie? And I'm wondering if we're on the same wavelength.
I mean, my thought process would have been Lana. That was the immediate thought that came into my head. Other than
Well,
that,
Lana was
though,
not. It was supposed to be Lana, and Lana was knocked out of the match.
yeah, and so then that completely, killed that. And then I thought to myself, interesting. So I kept thinking about it, and it's. I would have gone with Bianca if it was on SmackDown, but it's not. So it can't be her. Honestly,
Clearly, we're not on the same wavelength, Maddie.
no, because I'm kind of lost, to be honest with you, with this one.
She hasn't been on TV in forever. This whole buildup has been about who runs the women's division.
Oh, it's
Royal Rumble around the corner, WrestleMania season kicking off, and who is the real queen of the women's division?
Okay, yeah.
Charlotte Flair.
It's Charlotte,
She's been posting all kinds of videos and pictures of herself on Instagram. She looks super jacked, by the way. She's going to look, if she looks like she does in the picture she's been posting, she's going to look very different when she comes back. But, I can't remember who posed the question, but that's the answer. I can't think of a single other person that would make sense. They're ultimate rivals now getting together for a common goal, and that's to knock these other two down a peg who have been going in there and bullying everybody and pushing their weight around and claiming to be the top dogs in the division. Well, the Queen's coming back, and the Queen and the women's champ are going to put them in their place. That's who I'm going with.
Yeah, I would agree. If it winds up being Charlotte, which it obviously will be, now that you've put that all together for me, honestly, it's because I just been tuning out this freaking storyline because of Nia.
I hear
and it's just one of those things of, it's Charlotte. So
there's nobody else. I mean, unless they're going to pull somebody from NXT. However, they've done follow-up programs with all these women from NXT, so I don't see that being viable. Rhea's one that I keep feeling like whenever they hint a mystery partner, like something for Survivor Series, she's the logical name because she seems like she should be who's up next. However, I just don't see it happening. And I'll love this, and I hope that they win the women's tag team championship too. I'll love it. In terms of the team, I like Nia and Shayna. I am a huge Shayna fan. However, not loving the storyline. It's put a real buzzkill on their tag team title run for me.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this though, Shayna, she's won you over. I remember when remember the days in NXT when everybody was shitting on her. Holy shit, has she grown?
Well, you know what? I think she's come a long way. She's another one that now has gotten to the point where she deserves the push, and for whatever reason, she's not. Like I don't want to be that guy that says it, but when I put myself in Vince's shoes, she doesn't look like the other girls, and I think that's, to me, that can kind of factor in because she can talk. She is, my knock for her was always she was really green in the ring. I thought that she her attitude was cool. The idea of the character was great, but the in-ring work wasn't clean, and I felt like she was like a walking botch. You watch her matches, go back to her feud with Ember Moon, and Ember could work then. Ember could work, and that feud was boring. It was really boring, and so And that was when Ember was hot in NXT. You know, it's when she was really like clicking on all cylinders. There wasn't a lot of good. However, she turned a corner later in the last 6 months or so, 6 to 8 months in her NXT run. And I felt like when she debuted on the main roster, man, she was money. I think they really have dropped the ball on her. But Charlotte, hands down, is going to come out of this. We got 2 matches left here. We'll go with what I think will be the easiest one to predict. We'll go with the championship match. Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles in a TLC match.
Yeah. Well, it's Drew. I mean, this should be a good match, though. I mean, for the most part, from what I've seen, when Drew's had the belt, I haven't really said that he's had terrible matches. You know, I mean, even the ones where he's had a shit storyline put behind it, which isn't his fault. It's just one of those, he has been having some pretty solid matches. So I expect this to be a real good match at least, you know, even though we know who the winner's going to be.
Is it possible Miz cashes in?
It could be possible. I don't know. It's just the thing that holds me back is the Sheamus thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, are they going to be able to work that in? Maybe Sheamus comes out and, you know, tries to help. Maybe he takes him out, you know, and maybe AJ's down. So maybe Miz cashes in that way, you know, that. But, you know, I don't know. The Sheamus thing kind of gives me a pause on that to wait and see maybe the turn and then he wins the title. You know, that's the only thing that's holding me back on it.
Yeah, I don't think it happens. I think Miz carries Money in the Bank beyond WrestleMania, and maybe even cashes in at WrestleMania. But I think just putting the belt back on Drew, I think they're hell bent on getting Drew to Mania with the belt again. If there is a time to take it off of him, it would be now. Take it off of him, have him win the Rumble again, and then win it back at WrestleMania, and hope you have fans for it this time. However, I don't think that that's the case. I think you're going to get Drew at WrestleMania as champion. What I believe will be one of the matches of the night, The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Actually, there's 2 matches left on here. The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Tough one to call. I think I'm going to go with The Fiend here. Finally gets his ultimate redemption for Randy burning down the compound. I almost wish they would have done something cinematic with this in terms of, instead of having a regular match. I think this would have been a good opportunity to dive back into that cinematic well, particularly after seeing the segment this week on Raw. But yeah, however, I'm gonna go with The Fiend here to take out Randy Orton.
I would say The Fiend only because, you know, you're right. It does finish up everything. He does get his win back that, you know, he got buried all those years ago, and that'll take care of that. In a way, you can even make it where if you want to write Randy off for a short period and then have him kind of get into the right race to WrestleMania, have him show up in the Rumble or something like that. You could do something like, you can do that and have that build up towards a match for him at WrestleMania, basically. You know, because we've all been talking about the possible Edge match, you know, so maybe that's something they could do in the near future if they want to go that route. But yeah, I'm going to go with The Fiend.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good guess on that one. Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, TLC match. As much as I love what Kevin Owens has been doing, as much as I love the heel Roman character, but hate the storyline that it's in, I go with Roman Reigns in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with Roman here. I don't see them taking the title off of him until they've got like a mega babyface guy to take it off. Maybe they're trying to make one of the Usos a mega babyface. Maybe that's what they're trying to do this whole time. I'm not saying it's working, but maybe that's
could be.
A Either way, though, that's not happening this month. I think we got a little bit before we see Roman take the L and lose the title.
Yeah, I think this one is pretty clear. Any odds and ends, Maddie, before we sign off for the night, bud?
Not much except anybody who is a scalper out there who stole PS5s and Xbox Series X's who are selling it for $800,000-$900,000. You can all go to hell and enjoy all kinds of tortures from whomever wishes to do that to you. Screw you. Reason why I couldn't get one. So, yeah, screw those guys.
Screw you bastards. Hey, guys, it's the holidays. Listen, I forgot I bought this last year, and I'm glad I did because they don't sell any Brock stuff anymore. It's a Suplex City shirt. If you can see, there's Christmas lights on the sign. And then I'm going to turn around and see if you can see it, but it says Merry Christmas and Santa Claus getting suplexed. So, found that shirt this week. Pretty interesting. But especially with next week. Next week is our. I think we're doing shows next week. I would be shocked if we shut down. I know we used to in the past for the Christmas week, but I don't think we're doing that this year. If we're doing shows, we'll be on the air. We'll be ready for Christmas, buddy. I'll have my Christmas garb on for our show. But we'll be bringing our holiday celebration to you guys, where we'll be recapping WWE TLC and talking about whatever hot points, hot moments there are to discuss in the world of professional wrestling here on Lazy Booking. We're happy to be back with you guys after a little bit of a break. You haven't totally not seen us, whether we've been on other shows, partnering up in this very ring quite a bit as of late. Maddie was on there this past Sunday or Saturday. So whatever day they're on, they're the B show. It doesn't matter. But the A show's back, baby. Ready to reclaim our throne here.
Before we are finished reclaiming it, I believe that you have somebody you wanted to blast on the air.
Bret Hart. Bret Hart.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're old comments. I don't know if they're new comments. Doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, I'm going to take 2 minutes. Just let me pull up the quote real quick. And I'm not even saying that the guy is wrong. But it's Bret Hart, and he never shuts up. And he is the biggest mark for himself. I've never seen a person be a bigger fan of Bret Hart than Bret Hart. I've never seen a person who created everything that's anything in any industry more than Bret Hart has created and perfected everything in professional wrestling. This was a comment that he made regarding tag team wrestling. I think it's my understanding that Vince McMahon got sick of tag team wrestling and is no longer a fan of it. And that's so sad that he kind of single-handedly killed a part of the wrestling business that was so important. First of all, Vince didn't kill tag team wrestling. It doesn't work in WWE. Doesn't mean that other companies can't do tag team wrestling. Tag team wrestling is thriving. Okay? Look at AEW's tag team division. You still have top-notch tag teams in the New Day, which, by the way, also produced a single star in Kofi who won a title and is now producing Big E. You've had tag team wrestling, but to take that dig at Vince and say he single-handedly killed the tag team division or tag team wrestling as a whole in the industry is so typical Bret Hitman Hart. A guy is the most overrated main event wrestler of all time. Yes, great technical wrestler. Fantastic. He never injured anybody. Guess what? He had a lot of luck that he worked with good people too, because yes, you can be careful with what you do, but they still have to be safe workers and take care of themselves and take care of you too. But the fact that he sits there and he brags about it and he writes in his book about it's the greatest thing that ever happened, and he shits on Ric Flair and he shits on Shawn Michaels and he shits on Hulk Hogan, anyone who's ever been anyone in the business outside of Undertaker and Steve Austin is pathetic to me. It's time to clamp the lips, Brett. It's time to go away We don't need to hear any more, Brett, about how you created everything, how you perfected everything, and you evolved everything. You're the reason that smaller guys got a chance. And this, shut the fuck up, man. So sick of Bret Hitman Hart.
What I love is that he claims that he revolutionized everything. It's like, you do realize, Brett, that while you were champion, WWE's ratings were at an all-time low, and the company was drawing so little money that they damn near went out of business. So, hate to tell you this, man, but you were a champion in a very dead era. You were the guy in one of the most dead eras in WWE. Actually, probably the most dead era, to be honest with you. So, it's like, I'm sorry, dude. You really don't have much to talk about, considering the fact your championship runs were at a bad time.
Yep. You're also a big reason why they struggled for a lot of years, buddy. Doesn't matter what you did in Germany. Doesn't matter what they fucking thought over there. It's an American-based company, and when you're over here and predominantly over here, this is where the money-making was, and everybody was a Shawn Michaels mark, and you hated it. And you've been a bitter son of a bitch ever since then. And I'm so sick of hearing about Bret Hart. I'm sick of people that worship this guy. He's the excellence of execution to people because he told you he was when he was a kid, and you still believe it to this day, even though you've seen better people in the ring. I'll take an AJ Styles all time over him. I'll take an Edge over him, a Jericho. There's a million guys better than Bret Hitman Hart, most overrated main event star in the history of professional wrestling. And I don't care who has a problem with it because I'm just spitting facts. Well, this was fun, Maddie.
Yeah, it was. And by the way, I think we should do a special Christmas moments that wrestling has given us next week, since it will be the show before Christmas.
I love it. You know what? Let's do it. So tune in next week, guys. This will be our holiday Christmas special of Lazy Booking. We're going to give you that TLC review. We're going to talk about iconic moments around the holidays. Maybe it's, maybe something from Tribute to the Troops. Maybe something even before or after that. We talked about around through Survivor Series with the gobbledygooker. Well, we had plenty of Christmas moments with Santa Claus as well. We're going to discuss all of that next week and any other wrestling news that may come up. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Ambuck Services, AMBUCKservices.com. Let Michael Ambrose know that we sent you. You're going to get 20% off gutter guards, gutter cleaning, deck installation, restoration, outside work. That's AMBUCKservices.com. Dr. Paul Vidal, specialized physical therapy in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary, so hit up the doc, schedule your time. And obviously, Philly Drinkers, baby. Philly Drinkers, get your A2D merch, T-shirts, show shirts, tumblers, shorts, anything and everything under the sun, ugly sweaters, all kinds of cool stuff there. PhillyDrinkers.com. You could do, if you want to go specifically to the A2D catalog, PhillyDrinkers.com /pages/A2D-radio. You can go there, check it all out. And they do have discounts on there right now. I think 25% off, I think, still. So go check all that out. Get your holiday shopping done. Get your A2D merch. So, Maddie, great show. Appreciate you joining. Make sure you guys stay tuned. I'll be back in about 15 minutes or so with the ladies to give you A2D After Dark. We're going to talk Philadelphia Eagles, recap from this week. Jalen Hurts getting his first win. We're going to talk Sixers season preview. Their first preseason game is already kicked off, and much, much more. So for myself, for Maddie Studi, for Ryan Brodo back there on the ones and twos, for everybody here at A2D Radio, we love you guys. We thank you. Make sure you're liking, following, subscribing everywhere that on all your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, everywhere. Follow us. Check out the podcast, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and iTunes. Yes, I do, Anthony. Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever you call it. For myself and Maddie and everybody here, take care, guys. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon.